When it comes to villains in Destiny, there is no shortage of absolute icons in the game. We have legends like Sepix, Crota, that giant worm thing that was pretty cool, and of course, one of the most unique bosses in Axis. Obviously, there's way more bosses than just these guys. They're absolutely amazing. It's just these guys are the standouts for me, especially the giant worm thing that I can't bother to look up the name of. I mean, I would argue that there isn't a game better at portraying threats than Destiny is. And that's something that Bungie has been absolutely amazing at all the way back in their Halo, since all the way back in their Halo days. The Gravemind, in my personal opinion, is to this day one of the best written, most unique, iconic villains in the history of gaming. I mean, have you guys seen the remastered version from the Master Chief Collection? It's movie level quality. And like a good movie, it has some of the best voice acting ever. This level of villain creation is clearly transferred over to Destiny as well. All you have to do is look at the trailers presenting Crota, then actually play Crota's End, and you understand the quality of the villains created by Bungie. However, the villain that I'm choosing to talk about today isn't really that well known, or well remembered, since everyone that has played Destiny for a meaningful amount of time has had to fight him, and that villain is Riksis, the High Archon for the House of the Devils, the Prophet of Sepix. Now, like I said, you might not remember Riksis, since he honestly wasn't one of the most important villains ever, but if you've played Destiny, you've almost certainly encountered him, unless you literally paid $60 for the game and then picked it up and played it for just 10 minutes, which would be weird, but has happened. And then it would be even weirder that you're watching this video, even though you've only played Destiny once for 10 minutes several years ago. Alright, I'm absolutely getting off track here, but today, this video is all about how dumb Riksis is. But before we can talk about how much of a failure loser he is, we have to talk about why he was actually important and how he got to a position to be important despite his incredibly low IQ. The rise of Riksis is incredibly closely related to the rise of Sepix, the prime servitor that led the House of Devils before its untimely 3 separate deaths. So to properly understand why Riksis was important, you have to understand why Sepix was important, and how the hierarchy of the Fallen actually works. The most important member of any given Fallen house is always the Kell, who is completely in charge of everyone within the house. The Kell is generally much larger and stronger than any other Fallen around them because they have a near unaiding supply of ether, and are in charge of deciding how much lower ranks get of it as well. In case you don't know what ether is, it's the source of energy that Fallen uses food. Without ether, Fallen become weaker and weaker until they die, so it is absolutely necessary to survive. Well, for most Fallen, the Fallen who follow Axis have no need for ether because of their cybernetic enhancements, but that's a story for another day. After the Kell, the next in charge of a house is generally the Prime Servitor, and a Prime Servitor is what actually creates the ether that the Fallen consume. The Servitor machine creates the ether, and the Kell divides it among his subjects. Now, while the Servitors are technically the second in charge, they are the lifeblood of an entire Fallen house, and arguably the most important, because without them, no one gets to eat. Now that might make you ask the question, why aren't they in charge then? Well, that's because they're giant balls of fucking energy and metal, and they have a pretty difficult time communicating. You try talking to a giant metal ball, see how far you can get. Despite this inability to easily communicate, servitors do have ways of communicating, and the individual in charge of spreading whatever the hell they're trying to say is the Archon Priest. The Archon Priest is basically a prophet that serves a servitor, and today Riksis, who we're talking about, happens to hold that position, which I guess technically makes Archons basically tied for second in charge with the servitors, since everyone has to listen to what he says as long as he claims it's what the servitor wants. You know, my ass would be lying and saying the servitor demands that you give me a foot rub, but that's just me. After servitors and archons come barons, then after barons come captains, then vandals, and then most lowly of foot soldiers, the dregs. While this hasn't been the most in-depth explanation of how the Fallen leadership system works, it serves a purpose it needs to serve for this video, so let's get into the actual topic, how dumb Riksis is. Wait! But before that, we need to talk about the rise of Riksis. As I said in the last section, servitors and their archons are usually just second in charge, behind the Kells, who are the overall leaders of the houses. However, in a rare exception, the House of Devils was actually just led by Riksis and Sepix, without a Kell at all, and without anyone attempting to take over as Kell. The reason that the House of Devils was Kell-less is because of the Battle of the Twilight Gap. This was an absolutely massive battle between several different fallen houses and the last city that resulted in untold amounts of casualties for pretty much every single group involved. Of all of the massive casualties though, most of them unfortunately came from the House of Devils, who also suffered the greatest single casualty of them all, Sulcus, their Kell. After a death of a Kell, usually a large number of different high-ranking Fallen compete for this spot. But because of the massive casualties from the battle, there weren't really any suitable replacements. This allowed for the second in command, Prime Servitor Sepix, and Archon Riksis to take over the House of Devils with relatively little pushback. The only issues they faced was with Axis and a lot of Devil Splicers leaving the house because they weren't willing to follow Prime Servitor as their leader, and they had evolved themselves past the point of needing a continual source of ether. Other than this hiccup though, Riksis and Sepix served together relatively smoothly for a very, very long time, claiming the entire Cosmodrome as their territory, or modern day Russia. This video would never have been made if this story ended there. So now we have to talk about the self-inflicted downfall of Riksis and why I truly consider him one of the dumbest villains in Destiny history, if not the dumbest. No downfall video would be complete without the downfall part. Why the hell did I just write that line in the script? No shit, a downfall video needs the downfall part, or else it wouldn't even be a fucking downfall video. That's my bad, chat. I'm literally stupid, I think. Almost as dumb as Riksis, but not quite. And here is why. To understand the fall of Riksis, we have to go all the way back to the very beginning of Destiny 1, where you get revived just outside the wall in the Cosmodrome, and begin your journey as a Guardian. In case you don't remember, you start off your journey looking for a ship, so you can escape from the fallen infested territory and make it safely to the last city. When you finally find a ship that can help you escape, you have to battle with the devil captain named Ran, who is trying to salvage parts from the ship that you need to fly away on. After defeating the captain, the new Guardian gets in the ship and begins to get ready to take off towards the last city. While trying to take off, Riksis appears and tries to shoot the ship out of the sky as the Guardian flies away. Riksis was enraged the Guardians had escaped with their ship, along with the fact they killed one of his best captains and ran. This is where Riksis makes the worst decision possible. In a moment of anger and seeking revenge, Riksis alerts the Guardian of his location and baits the Guardian to come after him in order to get the NLS drive that he was holding on to. In case you don't know, the NLS drive is what allows the ship to actually travel from planet to planet in the solar system. Anyway, I don't think I have to tell you why this decision was so incredibly dumb and ultimately makes Riksis the dumbest villain in Destiny history. Why would Riksis, the only Archon in the House of Devils who has to essentially speak for and interpret what their leader Sepix wants, put himself on a silver platter for the Guardians in the last city who had viewed the House of Devils as their biggest threat and enemy for centuries? If Riksis dies, the House of Devils would almost certainly fall apart. What Riksis did would be equivalent to like Hitler calling out ally assassins to come and fight him for an instantly reduce Germany to ruins button. Which I mean his leadership kind of did that anyway, but you guys get the point. It was incredibly dumb. Riksis, much to his delight at first, realized that his callout had worked and that the Guardian who killed Ran was coming after him. Unfortunately for Riksis, this confrontation with the Guardian led to him catching a case of early death. And unlike Sepix, he wasn't going to get a chance with 2 more lives after his first defeat. Unfortunately, his idiotic and unbelievably stupid actions didn't just lead to his own downfall, it led to the downfall of the entire House of Devils. Because of his death, the House of Devils panicked and rushed to protect Sepix because they feared for his life after his Archon had died. This large amount of fallen activity is likely what allowed this last city to find where Sepix was hiding, and after finding that out, they sent a strike team after Sepix that was ultimately able to kill him, along with a high-ranked Devil Baron who was leading the defense of Sepix. After the death of Sepix, Naxxus, the Devil Baron, and Riksis, the House of Devils was in absolute shambles, and wouldn't be relevant or powerful until Axis assumed control over the remnants of the house sometime later. The actions of Riksis led to the complete defeat of the House of Devils, with pretty much every single Fallen with a leadership role being dispatched directly because of his actions. As an Archon, he should have remained hidden and continued to bolster Devil forces instead of picking a fight that would cause the entire fall of the house if he lost. And as we know, he did lose. This is why I consider Riksis the dumbest villain in Destiny, because he led the House of Devils to complete destruction after they had been one of the most powerful forces in the solar system for centuries with just one very, very poor decision. I hope you all enjoyed this video, and yes, I thought most of this video was just telling the story and lore of Riksis instead of his downfall moment, but I hope that's okay. This was originally just going to be titled The Story of Riksis, but I changed it to the dumbest villain in Destiny because, well, he's pretty dumb. And to be honest with you, I also thought it would get more clicks in the algorithm. To be completely honest, I'm an honest guy, I'm here for the clicks. What am I going to say? This video comes after I created my Sepix lore video, which is a much longer and more in-depth video. So if that sounds like something you're interested in, go check it out. It's just from last week. It should be right there on the front page. I think it's a pretty great video. And if you enjoyed this one, you'll almost certainly enjoy that one as well. Huge shout out to my wonderful members, Jay and Sign King 5000. You guys are absolutely amazing and support this channel more than anyone and motivate me to keep going. Alongside that, thank you to everyone who made it this far into the video. Please like and subscribe if you enjoyed it. Maybe this channel can reach 5,000 subs by the end of the year. I doubt it, but it might be possible with your help, soldier. I hope that all of you have an amazing day. Stay blessed out there, and please stay safe. Thank you all so much for watching. I really do appreciate it, and goodbye.